All glories to assembled devotees. All glories to assembled devotees. All glories to Sri Guru and Sri Gauranga. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Nama Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Preshtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swaminiti Namine Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato you can turn this off. Tato Jaya Mudirayet Nashtaprayeshva Bhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavatyuttama Shloke Bhaktir Bhavati Naishtiki. Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 4, Chapter 2. This is the beginning of Dakṣa Upakhyanam. The title of this chapter is Dakṣa curses Lord Shiva. Yes, Dakṣa cursed Lord Shiva. That was the first offense. So we'll read the first verse and then we'll discuss. Share the screen. Chapter 2, Dakṣa curses Lord Shiva, text 1. Vidura uvāca bhave śīlavatāṁ śreṣṭhe dakṣo duhitṛ-vatsalaḥ vidveṣam akarot kasmād anādṛtyātmajāṁ satīm. Vidura uvāca bhave śīlavatāṁ śreṣṭhe dakṣo duhitṛ-vatsalaḥ vidveṣam akarot kasmād anādṛtyātmajāṁ satīm. Vidura uvāca bhave śīlavatāṁ śreṣṭhe dakṣo duhitṛ-vatsalaḥ vidveṣam akarot kasmād anādṛtyātmajāṁ satīm. Vidura uvāca bhave śīlavatāṁ śreṣṭhe dakṣo duhitṛ-vatsalaḥ vidveṣam akarot kasmād anādṛtyātmajāṁ satīm. Vidura uvāca. Vidura said, bhave, towards Lord Shiva, śīlavatāṁ, among the gentle, śreṣṭhe, the best, dakṣa, Dakṣa, duhitṛ-vatsalaḥ, being affectionate towards his daughter, vidveṣam, enmity, akarot, did exhibit, kasmād, why, anādṛtyā, neglecting, atmajāṁ, his own daughter, satīm, Satī. Translation and purport by Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Translation. Vidura inquired, Why was Dakṣa, who was so affectionate towards his daughter, envious of Lord Shiva, who is the best among the gentle? Why did he neglect his daughter Satī? Purport. In the second chapter of the fourth canto, the cause of the dissension between Lord Shiva and Dakṣa, which was due to a great sacrifice arranged by Dakṣa for the pacification of the entire universe, is explained. I'll read that again. In the second chapter of the fourth canto, the cause of the dissension between Lord Shiva and Dakṣa, which was due to a great sacrifice arranged by Dakṣa. Yeah, envy. Which was due to a great sacrifice arranged by Dakṣa for the pacification of the entire universe, is explained. Lord Shiva is described here as the best of the gentle because he is not envious of anyone. He is equal to all living entities, and all other good qualities are present in his personality. The word Shiva means all auspicious. No one can be an enemy of Lord Shiva's, for he is so peaceful and renounced that he does not even construct a house for his residence, but lives underneath a tree, always detached from all worldly things. The personality of Lord Shiva symbolizes the best of gentleness. Then why was Dakṣa, who offered his beloved daughter to such a gentle personality, inimical towards Lord Shiva so intensely that Satī, the daughter of Dakṣa and wife of Lord Shiva, gave up her body? So that is the purport by Srila Prabhupada. So once again, the translation is, Vidura inquired, why was Dakṣa, who was so affectionate towards his daughter, envious of Lord Shiva, who is the best among the gentle? Why did he neglect his daughter Satī? Om ajnana-timirandhasya jnananjana-salakaya chakshurunmilitam yena tasmai Sri Gurave namaha. So we are beginning the second chapter of the fourth canto. The last thing that we read in the previous chapter, first chapter was, so the first chapter was the genealogical table of the descendants of the daughters of Manu. So Manu had three daughters, Akuti, Devahuti and Prasuti. So we saw Akuti had Yagya and Dakshina, and then we saw their descendants. Devahuti and Kardama had 9 daughters and Kapil Bhagwan as their children. And we saw the descendants of the 9 daughters. Prasuti was married to Dakṣa, and they had 16 daughters, 13 of whom were given to Dharma, and Murti, one of the 13 daughters, gave birth to Naranarayan Rishi. And then one daughter was given to Agni, Swaha was given to Agni, and she had 3 sons, Pavaka, Pavamana, and Shuchi. And another daughter, Swadha, was given to the Pitas. And she had 2 daughters who were impersonalists, and they were expert in the transcendental knowledge. And the last daughter was later. So the last daughter, Satī, was given to Lord Shiva. However, it is said that Satī didn't have any children. Why Satī didn't have any children? The last daughter's name, Satī was the last daughter. Naturally, the youngest child, especially a daughter, is very dear to the father. She is the pet child. So Satī, being the youngest of the 16, was very dear to her father Dakṣa. That's why, even though he didn't want her to marry Lord Shiva, why he didn't want her to marry Lord Shiva? You see, Daksha was an opulent Prajapati living in royalty and materialistic, of course, we can understand. And Lord Shiva was completely renounced. He didn't even have a home. If you were to marry your daughter to a boy, to a young man who doesn't even have a place to stay, if he would just sleep under trees in the night, as a father, would you be willing to give your pet daughter, whom you raised so affectionately in all comforts, would you be willing to give your daughter in marriage to a man who doesn't even have a place to sleep at night? He just sleeps outside under the trees somewhere. Right? So when we say Daksha is a materialist, I mean, are we not materialists too? So, but this only shows the exalted position of Lord Shiva. How exalted is Lord Shiva? Why would he not care to keep a house for himself? Because he was so detached. He was so detached. And it is said he was the best of all gentle people. He is. Lord Shiva is the best of all gentle. No, about Lord Shiva. I'm saying that when we say Daksha is a materialist, then if we look at ourselves now, would we be? So it's easy to point out at another person, but if we look at ourselves from that standard, we are all like Daksha too, isn't it? So therefore, it only shows how exalted is Lord Shiva. It's not difficult to find people having the mindset like Daksha. You'll find many. But to find someone like Lord Shiva, that's, extremely rare. That is why, you see, even in Bhagavatam, it is said, Lord, in Uddhav Gita, Krishna is saying to Uddhava, that I have given 3 types of yoga for the benefit of all living beings. So he said, what are the 3 types of yoga? He said, Jnana Yoga, Bhakti Yoga, and Karma Yoga. These are the 3 types of yoga. Then he says, who is eligible for which yoga? It's not that you can pick and choose which one you want. There is an eligibility criterion. So whoever satisfies those criteria, he will be eligible to practice that particular yoga. So, what is the qualification? The qualification for Jnana Yoga is let me just check the verse. It's just slipping my mind right now. It is from the 11th canto, Srimad Bhagavatam, 11:29. Nirvinnanam, yes. Nirvinnanam Nirvinnanam Jnana Yogo Nyasinam Iha Karmasu Mat Katha Shravanadava Shraddha Yavanna Jayate. That is the verse. Okay. So, what I wanted to tell you is Nirvinnanam. Nirvinna means being detached from this word. Nirvinna. Nirvinnanam in Sanskrit means plural. So, those people who are detached, who got the qualification of detachment, you can turn this on. Nirvinnanam Jnana Yoga. So who's qualified for Jnana Yoga? One who is detached from this world. Because why I brought this up? Because of Lord Shiva. I'm saying how rare is the quality of Lord Shiva. But Lord Shiva is not just detached. She's a great devotee. But anyway, see, a devotee will have all the qualities of all other yogis plus more. So he will be automatically detached. He doesn't have to, cultivate that separately. Anyway, so to tell you about how rare it is to be a devotee, I was quoting this verse, 11:29 of Bhagavatam, where it is said, Nirvinnanam jnana yogo, nyasinam iha karmasu. So, Nirvinnanam means plural. That means you'll find many people who are detached. Many people who are detached. And they are qualified for Jnana Yoga. Nyasinam iha karmasu. And same, also, they have given up all types of karma. One who is completely detached and has given up all type of karma. Those people, not one, it's plural. Those people who have given up all type of karma, who are detached, are qualified for Jnana Yoga. And then Kaminam, then Karma Yoga, who is qualified for Karma Yoga? Kaminam, that means we are full of material desires. So Kaminam is also plural. That means you'll find many people who have material desires. You will also find many people who are detached. But mat katha shravanadav va śreṣṭhe yavan na jayate. But who is qualified for bhakti? That person, it is said. For bhakti, who is qualified for bhakti? 1 second. Let me, the beginning of the verse I'm missing. Yadrichaya. Yadrichaya. I don't know. My mind is blanking out today. 1 second. 11:29. This is the verse. These are the verses that I quote often, but it's just slipping my mind today. Okay. Actually, not 11:20. 11. 11. 19. One second. Yes, 11:20. Yes. Yadrichaya matkathado jata shraddhastu yaha puman. That is the point. So 11:28 is talking about the qualification for Bhakti Yoga. Yadrichaya matkathado jata shraddhastu yaha puman. Yaha puman means singular. That person who got faith in hearing my katha. How he got this faith? Yadrichaya. Yadrichaya means somehow or other. We don't know how he got. Somehow or other. Somehow or other means by the mercy of a devotee only one will get faith to hear about Krishna Katha. So that person who got faith, he is qualified to do Bhakti Yoga, even if he didn't get detachment, even if he has some material desires, still he is qualified to do Bhakti Yoga, provided he has faith. So the point that I'm trying to make here is, Jnanis are many. Karmis also, not karmis, karma yogis also are many. But Bhakta yogi, Manushyanam sahasreshu kaschid yatati siddhaya yatataamapi siddhanam kaschin mam vetti tattvataha. There are thousands and thousands of people. Amongst them, one person may be endeavoring for spiritual life. And of many, many people who actually got perfection in spiritual life. What is perfection in spiritual life? Realizing I'm not this body, I'm soul. Of those also, hardly one person may know Krishna in truth. That means who can take to bhakti. It's not a common place, right, to find a devotee. It's very rare to find a devotee. So Lord Shiva is the gentle amongst, all gentle people. He's the most gentle amongst all gentle people. Such Lord Shiva, Dakṣa is hating. So we were reading towards the end of the previous chapter that the last daughter's name was Satī, and she was very dear to Dakṣa. And even though Dakṣa didn't like Lord Shiva, still he married Satī to Lord Shiva because she wanted to marry him. And out of affection for his daughter, he could not refuse. He gave her to Shiva on her desire, even though he didn't like Lord Shiva. So the question was why he didn't like Lord Shiva. So that's why I was saying that actually devotee doesn't hate anyone. Devotee does not have any enemies. But people who have material mentality, they consider out of envy, they consider devotees to be their enemies. So Dakṣa didn't like Lord Shiva because he was so renounced. He didn't even have a house. He just lived under trees. And also later on we will see the type of, words he uses for Lord Shiva. You're associating with ghosts. You're living in crematorium, applying ashes on your body like that. So that's why he didn't like Lord Shiva, he said. Still, he married Satī to him. And then, because of some differences between Shiva and Dakṣa, Satī gave up her body before giving birth to a baby. So she's married to Lord Shiva, and there were some differences between Lord Shiva and Dakṣa that we are going to see in this chapter, what happened. And as a result of that, because of those differences, Satī gave up her body. And she was not yet, she was not old enough to give birth to children yet. That's why she gave up her body while she was still young, and Satī didn't have any children. So this was discussed until the end of the first chapter. Now, after hearing this, remember, this whole thing is a conversation between Vidura and Maitreya. So Vidura had asked about creation. So that's how Maitreya Muni explained creation from the beginning, when the Lord glanced on Prakriti, and then 23 elements were formed, then how the universes were formed, how Garbhodakshaya Vishnu entered the universe, then how Lord Brahma was born, along with Virata Purusha. All this was described. And then Brahmaji started creating his secondary creation. First of all, the Kumaras, before that also, he created the principles of avidya, asmita, raga, dvesha, abhinivesha, like this. Then also the Kumaras, then Lord Rudra, then the Prajapatis, then Manu, and then Manu's wife, Shatarupa. Like this, Brahmaji created. Then we started, we went into, Maitreya Muni took a detour, because after Manu was created, Brahmaji ordered Manu to go and procreate, increase the progeny, the human. Manu is the father of mankind, so increase the human population. However, there was no earth. Manu was supposed to go on the earth, but there was no earth. It had drowned in Garbhodaka ocean. So Manu came back and told Brahmaji, oh, there is no earth. So here Maitreya Muni, out of, his enthusiasm to glorify the Lord, he jumped and he told the story of some other Manvantara, where first of all, he jumped Kalpas also, that Manu said that there is no earth, and he told Brahmaji. And when that happened, Brahmaji, what did he do? He thought about the Supreme Lord. So this is a story from another Kalpa that Maitreya Muni is telling. I'm going back, telling you how we came to Daksha's story. So then Maitreya Muni, he said, Varahadev appeared because Brahmaji was contemplating what happened to the earth, and Varahadev appeared. And then Varahadev, he went in, he picked up the earth, but then there was Hiranyaksha. So now once again, Maitreya Muni jumped to not only to another Kalpa, now to another Manvantara story, because Hiranyaksha, Hiranyakashipu, they don't appear in the first Manvantara. They appear in Chakshusha Manvantara, 6th Manvantara. But this is the beginning of creation. So Maitreya Muni jumps like this, like a frog jumping to different places. Like that, Maitreya Muni also jumps like that in Srimad Bhagavatam. So he tells the story of Hiranyaksha and Varahadev's fight. So several chapters, then the history of who is Hiranyaksha and Hiranyakashipu, and then how they were Jay and Vijay, how they actually became Hiranyakashipu and Hiranyaksha, then the story of the Kumaras going to Vaikuntha. All this is described. And then again, when they actually take birth as Hiranyaksha, Hiranyakashipu, then the fight between Varahadev and Hiranyaksha is killed. So there is a detour for several chapters that Maitreya Muni is explaining to Vidura. Once again, he comes back to the creation because the storyline is creation. He's talking about the creation. So we came up to Swayambhuva Manu. So then he starts Swayambhuva Manu and Shatarupa. They gave birth to 5 children. So now, and then again while discussing, there he goes to Devahuti's story. Devahuti married Kardamuni. Several chapters. That story continues. The marriage of Kardamuni and Devahuti, and then instructions given by Kapil Bhagwan. All that goes on. And again, after the end of the 3rd canto, in the beginning of 4th canto, further details are given about the further descendants, not just the marriage of the daughters of Devahuti, but what about the other children of the other daughters, Akuti and Prasuti, and who are their descendants. So all that happened in the 1st chapter. So now, this is how Bhagavatam proceeds. So there is a thread, there is a line, but then there are questions asked in between. So there's like lines. Right, there's branches. So to answer that question, another story comes up, another history comes up. There's more stories inside that. And after that, again, you come back to this story, like that. So now we are entering into another story now, while discussing the descendants of the daughters of Manu. So this is the last daughter. So after this, we'll go to the sons. Yeah. But this is also a sub-branch of, because the whole Devavati's daughters is also like a branch of the main storyline, right? Or is it the main storyline? No, the main storyline is creation only. So that's why I was telling you, creation means it started off with the Lord glancing on Prakriti. So it started way back in the 2nd chapter. Well, now we are 3rd canto. 2nd canto already we discussed creation. But that was explained by Sukadeva Goswami to Parikshit Maharaj. But then Parikshit Maharaj asked a bunch of questions in the 8th chapter. Further questions he asked. Then to answer those questions, Sukadeva Goswami said, I will tell you the conversation between Maitreya Muni and Vidura, because Maitreya Muni answers the questions that you asked. Instead of me answering you, I will simply quote that conversation. And if I just tell you what happened in that conversation, all your questions will be answered. Because the questions that you are asking were already asked by Vidura to Maitreya Muni. So I'll tell you Padmakalpa stories. Padmakalpa is the 51st year of Brahmaji. 51st year's first day is called Padmakalpa. So that particular Kalpa stories I will tell. So the 3rd canto, in the 3rd canto, whatever is discussed, it belongs to the Padmakalpa stories. But it is the same creation. In every day, creation happens, but he's talking about that particular day's events to answer the questions about creation. Because stories will come in that particular, so which story? So he's telling the stories from Padmakalpa particularly. So that's how we hear about Brahmaji's appearance, how he was born, and then he saw all darkness around, and then, he climbs down the lotus. That was in the 8th chapter of the 3rd canto, and all that. So then again, he gets darshan of Garbhodakshai Vishnu, and he prays to the Lord, and the Lord gives him benediction, Chatushloki Bhagavatam, and all that happens. Well, all that actually happened. Anyway, so that's the creation. So after that creation of Brahmaji, then further I was explaining how Brahmaji created Kumaras, Rudra, then Prajapatis, Manu and Shatarupa. Then Manu and Shatarupa, from there was a detour to Varahadev's story for several chapters. And after that, we come back to creation. And in creation, we are... No, I'm in 3rd canto again because you asked me. Because you asked me, I'm repeating. Now you better pay attention. So then we came back to creation, continuing with Manu and Shatarupa. So they had 5 children. And 5 children, normally you would proceed from oldest to youngest. But there also directly we went to Devahuti, because Vidura asked a question. You see, Devahuti was a yogini and Kardama Muni was a yogi. And we are talking about procreation through sex life, like through married life, husband and wife giving birth to children. How do yogis and yoginis, because they're renounced, yogi means he gives up home and everything. How did a yogi and yogini give birth to children? Did they actually have, a relationship like husband and wife, and did they give birth to children? Or through yogic powers they gave birth, like that? So he was curious, how do yogis and yoginis, how do they have children? That's why instead of going in a systematic way from the eldest child to the youngest, straight they went to Devahuti and Kardama Muni. So that's a special story. So we hear about Kardama Muni's, great devotion and how the Lord appeared to him. Then we hear about their marriage. And then after that, how Devahuti wanted children the normal way. Then for that, Kardama Muni, using his yogic powers, created this aerial mansion. So all that will continue. And then they had 9 daughters. After the 9 daughters, he was leaving home. But then she said, oh, but what will happen to me? I'm still fearful. Material existence means fearfulness. So who will give me? Please bestow me fearlessness. Then he instructs her how to worship the Supreme Lord, and also assures her the Supreme Lord is going to be your son. Kapil Bhagwan appears. Then Kardama Muni leaves home, and Kapil Bhagwan, now he gives his instructions to Mother Devahuti. That goes on for chapters, several chapters, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29. And then Kapil Bhagwan's, the activities of Kapil Bhagwan, like that, the 3rd canto ended. So now once again we come back to creation, continuation. So Kardama Muni Devahuti story is over, get back to creation. That is the 1st chapter of 4th canto. So now we saw Kardama Muni Devahuti's daughters, but further descendants we had not seen. So that is also described along with the other daughters' children. That is over now. Prasuti is the youngest daughter of Manu and Shatarupa. And Prasuti is married to Dakṣa, and they had 16 daughters, and the youngest daughter, Satī, didn't have any children. That's where we ended the 1st chapter. So now Vidura is getting a question after hearing this. That what is Vidura's question? What was the enmity between Dakṣa and Lord Shiva? Why was there enmity? Why was Dakṣa angry towards Lord Shiva? Lord Shiva, he's like Paramatma. He's neutral. Paramatma is neutral. Paramatma is giving someone a beautiful body and someone is giving an ugly body. Someone is taking birth in a rich family, someone in a poverty-stricken family. So why? Is he being partial to some people? No, he's actually neutral to everyone. He'll award them the results according to their particular karma. In the same way, like Paramatma is neutral, Lord Shiva is also neutral. He does not have, his favorites and his enemies. He's not like that. He's not biased to anyone and he's not inimical towards anyone. And the very word Shiva means he's all auspicious. Then why would someone be Dakṣa? Why was he angry towards Lord Shiva? Who would hate Lord Shiva? Who would consider Lord Shiva his enemy? He's so, he's just like the Lord, Paramatma. He doesn't hate, nor is he partial to anyone. You're raising your hand? No. And he himself is free from anger. Lord Shiva is free from anger. How Dakṣa became angry towards Lord Shiva? This is Vidura's question. And that is opening up a whole new story, Upakhyana. So these are the questions that Vidura is going to ask. And he wants to know in detail. And that's how the 2nd chapter began. So the translation of the verse was, why was Dakṣa, who was so affectionate towards his daughter, envious of Lord Shiva, who is the best among the gentle? Why did he neglect his daughter Satī? So she gave up her body because, well, we'll see what happened. But he neglected his daughter. So Dakṣa was very affectionate to his daughter because she's the youngest and she's a daughter. So she was very dear to her father. However, Dakṣa was envious of Lord Shiva. Why was he envious of Lord Shiva? That is the question.
Yes, Dakṣa.
So, Srila Prabhupada, as we read the purport already, we saw that the cause of the dissension between Lord Shiva and Dakṣa will be explained in this chapter. What was the reason for the dissension between Dakṣa and Lord Shiva? This was a great sacrifice that was performed by Dakṣa. And this sacrifice was performed for the pacification of the entire universe. Dakṣa performed. So the Prajapatis, they are performing sacrifices for the auspiciousness of the whole universe. If there is any inauspiciousness, then to pacify those inauspicious elements, the Prajapatis are performing sacrifices. So, about Lord Shiva, it is said that he is the best of the gentle and is equal to all living entities. No one can be an enemy of Lord Shiva because he is so peaceful and renounced that he does not even construct a house for his residence. He doesn't have any attachments. When will there be fights between people? Right? When you trespass on another person's comforts, that's when there is enmity, there is strife, isn't it? But someone who's completely detached, he has no desires, no attachments, who would hate such a person? He's not competing with you for anything. He's not getting angry also. So nobody would hate Lord Shiva. No one can consider Lord Shiva his enemy because he's so peaceful and renounced. So this particular purport is mainly about the glories of Lord Shiva. Srila Prabhupada is talking about the glories of Lord Shiva. So in the previous canto, third canto, 14th chapter, that means when we were talking about the birth of Hiranyakashipu and Hiranyaksha, there we read that Diti gets a desire at a wrong time. So in that chapter, we see that her husband Kasyapa is explaining to Diti that this is not an auspicious time. Why? Because during this time, Lord Shiva is traveling with his associates, the ghosts and hobgoblins. And anyone who engages in sex life at this time, he will just send those living entities into the wombs. That's why this is not a right time. Evening time is not a right time.
The ghosts and goblins.
Yeah.
Actual.
Well, she got even worse actually. She got the demons, who would terrorize the whole universe, not just some ghosts. So anyway, that whole story was covered in the third canto. But there, Kasyapa Muni is explaining to Diti, who was afflicted with sex desire. In the purport, Srila Prabhupada writes that a Vaishnava is not interested in gathering opulence, talking about Lord Shiva. Kasyapa Muni is explaining about Lord Shiva to Diti. In that context, he says that a Vaishnava is not interested in gathering opulence. So when Kasyapa Muni is explaining about Lord Shiva to Diti, so in purport to that verse, Shmashana Chakranila Dhuli Dhumra, how he lives in the crematorium, he applies, ashes on his body, like that. That was the verse, how Lord Shiva lives. So Srila Prabhupada was explaining in the purport there that a Vaishnava is not interested in gathering opulence, living in nice, comfortable home, wearing opulent clothes, having, costly garments, eating opulent food, having nice family, so on and so forth. He's not interested in gathering opulence. He loves akinchana life. Akinchana means no attachments, right? He won't accumulate anything. He'll be free. Akinchana, that's a Vaishnava. So Vaishnavas are akinchanas. They live a simple life. Lord Shiva is the best example of such a Vaishnava. He's always busy in meditating on the Lord, not interested in even constructing a house or stitching new clothes for himself. He doesn't even stitch clothes. He just wraps a tiger skin, right? That's Lord Shiva's clothing. So he's not even waste time. He doesn't waste time in building a house for himself or stitching new clothes for himself. It's interesting that today that verse came.
Get people to do it.
He doesn't waste time. So he's not this is exactly what is written here. He's not interested in stitching new clothes for himself. He's happy with whatever is naturally available. He only wears animals' leather. He's satisfied with that.
I think it'll be more of animals other than getting more fish.
Well, wild animals that cause disturbance to the sages. The Pandavas were also hunting wild animals when their population goes out of control, right? And they cause disturbance to the peaceful sadhus in the jungle. So
Yeah, like if you need to kill the animal anyway, you might as well use it for multiple purposes.
yeah. Once it's killed, then use the skin. Why not? And that too, that animal is being benefited because he's always meditating on the Lord, wrapping his body with that animal's hide. So yeah, so he only wears animal's leather. He is satisfied with that and wears no ornaments. Even if he wears ornaments, he has snakes, wrapped around his neck and his arms.
Snakes hurts.
He's so kind that he's leading the most fallen souls in the creation who are in the mode of ignorance. He becomes their leader. He becomes the leader of those people who are rejected by everyone else. Nobody likes to be with ghosts and hobgoblins. And because they are rejected by everyone else, he takes them. You can think like Srila Prabhupada. The most rejected people, the hippies, their families, they rejected their families, the families rejected them. In society, they were considered like bums, they are like rejected people. And Srila Prabhupada actually took them and he led them, transformed their lives. Yes.
They went from the worst people of society to the best people of society.
Exactly. They went from becoming the worst people of society to the best people of society. Like that, Lord Shiva, he chose the people who were most fallen, who were in the mode of ignorance. And he's leading them and trying to make them devotees. That is his nature, right? That's why he's called Ashutosh. No, not that's why, but he's called Ashutosh because you know why he's called Ashutosh? All of you heard it before.
Yeah, I heard it.
Ashutosh means Tosha. What is Tosha? Santosha. Yeah, one who's pleased. Ashu means quickly. Janayatyashu vairagyam. Very quickly you get vairagya. Vasudeve Bhagavati Bhakti Yoga Prayojitaha Janayatyashu vairagyam. When you do Vasudev's bhakti, very quickly you get vairagyam, detachment, and jnanam, knowledge. Simply by doing bhakti, you'll get knowledge and you'll get detachment very quickly. So Ashu means very quickly. Tosha means being pleased, becoming satisfied. Ashutosh means बहुत जल्दी satisfy हो जाते हैं, बहुत जल्दी please हो जाते हैं. उनके लिए थोड़ा कुछ करो तो बहुत जल्दी please हो जाते हैं. That's why it's called Ashutosh.
Always.
That's why demons, they approach him. Yeah. When anyone approaches him with any material desire, he gives it immediately. He's he's bold and he's simple. So this is the glorification of Lord Shiva there in while Kasyapa Muni is explaining to his wife Diti. Another incident we will see in Kardama Muni and Devahuti's marriage. We see how after marriage Devahuti served her husband Kardama Muni just as Parvati ji served Lord Shiva. So there once again we get to hear about Lord Shiva. So in that purport, where Devahuti and Kardama Muni were in the same situation as Parvati and Lord Shiva. Because Kardama Muni is living in the forest, in a hermitage, and Devahuti is a princess. And now she's married to a husband who doesn't have any opulences. At the time, well, he's a yogi, but he didn't keep, because devotees, like we said, they live very simple. They don't waste time in all these things. So now, but she's coming as a princess from a princess background, and how she adjusted herself to her husband's situation. For her, it's like day and night, the difference. how she was living in opulence, and now all of a sudden she's in the jungle and he's always in meditation. It's not like he's giving her all attention or anything. How? So that was the same position in which Parvati ji was with Lord Shiva. He's always in meditation and he doesn't even have a home. How did Parvati serve Lord Shiva? Ho gaya, ho gaya. So Kardama Muni was staying in a small hut with no building, and Srila Prabhupada says many girls worship Lord Shiva to get a husband like Lord Shiva. They pray to Lord Shiva because we want a husband like you. But if the husband lives like Lord Shiva, then they won't be happy. That if he didn't have a house, he's living under a tree, the girls won't be happy. They're praying to Lord Shiva. We've also seen some relatives observing some fastings on certain days, for Lord Shiva. And the purpose is, by worshipping Lord Shiva, you want to get a good husband. But if they got a husband like Lord Shiva, then they won't be happy.
What's the point?
The point is they want they want a good husband, but what is good is they describe what is good. Someone who is wealthy, who is very nice to them and gives them a lot of jewelry, and they want to have children and so on and so forth, like that. But actually, if the husband is a devotee and is dedicating his time fully to serving the Lord, the wife should be happy. Because in this life, even if you have to live simple without those things, whatever the husband, if he's sincerely practicing devotional service, even if he's not able to satisfy you materially with so many, like building your big house and all those things, if he's not able to provide, but whatever he's achieving through his spiritual devotional life, even without your practicing devotion yourself, simply by supporting him, cooperating with his devotion, you will automatically be recipient of 50% of whatever he's done. Whatever he's getting, simply by being his wife, you will receive all those devotional benefits. For example, if he's going back to Godhead, you can also go back to Godhead by your assisting him, like we see in Tukaram ji's case. She was not practicing, but his practicing gave her also the right, like that. So therefore, the wife should be happy if her husband is a devotee and if he is dedicating his time fully to serving the Lord. Just like Satī and Parvati, they were very happy serving Lord Shiva. They were not demanding him, demanding things from him. And Devahuti was also like that with Kardama Muni. So Lord Shiva is glorious. He is neutral to anyone. He doesn't have, like these are my people and those are the other people. That like that, yeah, Mama Kaha. These are my people and those are others. He doesn't have that type of mentality. Whoever approaches him, because he doesn't have, these are my enemies, these are my friends. Even if the enemy is coming for him, in his vision, there is no enemy. Anyone can come to him. That's why even the demons also approach him and he gives them whatever they ask him. So whoever approaches him, he gives them whatever they want. The personality of Shiva is the emblem of gentleness. Vidura is asking, Lord Shiva is a gentleman, then why Dakṣa maintained enmity with him? Because of which his daughter had to give up her body. Because of Dakṣa's enmity to Lord Shiva, Satī gave up her body. What happened? That is Vidura's question. What happened? Why Dakṣa had enmity to Lord Shiva, because of which Satī had to give up her life? So that was the end of the first verse. We can end there today. Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Samaveta Gaur Bhakta Vrind ki jai. Oh, I was not sharing the screen on this one. So
we have good news and bad news.